Welcome to another segment of Christian Concerns. I'm your host, Joe Gresham, and the subject that we are going to consider together is one that is of much concern to Christians around the world, and particularly to the English-speaking world, and that is the multiplicity of modern translations. Everywhere we look today, we find these various translations that come from all different sources and read in all types of different ways, and every one of them claiming to be the best, the most current, easy to understand scriptures to date. But the question that we're going to consider together is, all of these different translations that come out, is there a possibility that they're not all really saying what the Word of God says? And which one should a person choose as their own personal study Bible? How many people today really study their Bibles? For example, if we were to want to just read a Bible, we would have a much easier time picking up something such as the Cotton Patch Bible, which is written in a very unique fashion with a Burr Rabbit and Burr Bear type of language in it, or the Living Bible, which is written similar to a newspaper in today's colloquial English. But you know that we are never told once, from cover to cover of this Bible, that we are to read the Bible. But there are several imperative instructions that we are to study the Scriptures. And there is a tremendous difference, my friends, between studying and reading. Studying is something that an individual does to prepare for a test, to gain great instruction. Whereas reading is something that you can simply do with a newspaper. Reading is something that is done for simple enjoyment. Studying is something that is done for advancement and for growth. And today, in choosing a Bible, are we to choose one simply based upon the ease of reading, or are we forgetting to consider the necessity of Christian growth and development? And which Bible is the best Bible, or is there such a thing as one being better than another? Many people today are asking their pastors that type of a question. Pastor, which Bible is really the best Bible? Which is the one that I should use? And most people, when they get an answer to a question like that, it is an answer based primarily upon personal preference or something that someone had told them while they were in the seminary, and they've never really studied for themselves to see which is the best. And so if we have all types of different Bibles and each one reading differently, can they all be the unadulterated Word of God? You know, Martin Luther said once, a long time ago, that no greater mischief could happen to the people of God than to have the Word of God taken from them or falsified so that it no longer was in their possession pure and clear. And then he went on to say, God grant that we or our descendants not be witnesses to such a calamity as this. There's another Bible that's in the process of being produced now called What Jesus Really Said. You see, we have the NIV, the RSV, the ASV, the NKJV, and on and on. There's more than 150 different translations of the Bible in this century alone. Now people feel that there needs to be another one called What Jesus Really Said. Now, I listened to a man on a television program once that was promoting this, and he was the head behind this committee that was putting this out. And what he said they were doing is going to go through the Bible and determine what Jesus really said and what he didn't, because the majority of the things in the Bible that are attributed to Jesus were never spoken by him. And so he and his committee are going to go about and try to remove all of these things. Now, friends, here's the frightening thing. This man on the program would not even tell the people that called in whether he was a Christian or those on his committee were. He would not give the names of these individuals because he said that they would lose their positions as leaders within their various denominations or educational institutions. The question is, are we to take the word of a group of interdenominational scholars as to what is the Word of God and what is not the Word of God, what Jesus really said and what he didn't say? which of these modern translations are accurate and which are not. And as we begin to investigate and look into these translations, we'll see that there are often variant readings in these that read totally opposite of one another. For example, if a person were to take 4 translations of the Bible and look at Hosea chapter 13 and verse 9, you would find that there are all 4 different readings in those translations. For example, in the King James Version, it says, O Israel, thou hast destroyed thyself, but in me is thy help. And then as we look at the Revised Standard Version, it says, I will destroy you, O Israel, who can help you? And then as we go to the New International Version, I will destroy you, O Israel, because you are against me, against your helper. And the Living Bible says, O Israel, if I destroy you, who can save you? And then we come to the New American Standard Bible. It is your destruction, O Israel, that you are against me, against your help. So as we can see, all of these translations say something totally different. Not a one of them agree with any of the other 3. Which one is the Word of God? Which one is correct? You know, many people today believe that the Douay version is the Catholic Bible, and all other versions are Protestant Bibles. But my friends, this is far from being true, because there has been an undermining of the Word going on for a long, long time. Back in 1973, they came out with a Bible called the Common Bible. Now this Bible, it tells you in the front of it that it is acceptable by the Roman Catholic, the Greek Orthodox, all of the various denominations in the world except this Bible, Protestant and Catholic alike. And all that the Common Bible is the Revised Standard Version with the Apocrypha between the Old and the New Testaments. Now, if you can take the Revised Standard Version and put the Apocrypha in between the Old and New Testament and have it accepted by the Catholic Church, why will they not do the same thing with the King James Bible? There must be some difference between these various translations and that of the King James Bible. A statement made several years ago in favor of the modern translations definitely contains a warning that God's people should listen to and respond to. This individual said in his book, So Many Versions, and I quote, in the future, Catholics and Protestants will move beyond the adoption of a mutually acceptable Revised Standard Version and will work together in the translation of a completely new Common Bible. Although even now Protestants and Catholics use each other's Bibles freely without official objection, notice why, since their most recent translations are quite similar. Do you see this, my friends? They are quite similar. There is very little difference between the Common Bible, the Revised Standard Version without the Apocrypha, the New International, the New American Standard, or any of the others that you can think of. There's very little difference between them. Now, if that's the case, why is the King James so opposed? Why do people not want to accept the things in it and are pushing toward these modern translations?